I was one of those people that didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But now my life looks completely different, and it's because I discovered the secret to finding purpose. And in this video, I'm going to share that secret with you. By the end of this video, you will understand that not really knowing your path can actually be a good thing. You'll also learn that there is a version of you that already has it figured out. You just haven't met them yet. But the only way to find them is to start moving in that direction, and potentially even to get lost along the way. My name is Carly, and I'm a life redesign coach, fully certified now. And I've spent the last 12 months completely redesigning my life. I now live in a camper van full time and travel, and I live life on my terms. I don't have a schedule. I'm not stuck in the 9-to-5 rat race anymore. That was my old life. My life now looks completely different. The old version of me, who was stuck in the 9-to-5, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know that I wanted to travel. I didn't know that I wanted to do YouTube even. I mean, the thought of doing YouTube, I don't think ever entered my mind. It just wasn't something that I thought I ever wanted to do. Writing. I plan to write a book. That isn't something I ever thought I wanted to do. I genuinely was stuck and didn't know what I wanted. And I bet that there is a lot of people out there throughout all stages of life that feel exactly the same. So let's start by looking at why it is you don't know what you want. And I'm going to start by asking you two questions. The first question is probably a question you've been asked loads, and it's, what do you do? Every time we're in social situations and we meet someone new, it's a very common question. Hello, what do you do? It's kind of a society judgmental thing. You judge a person based on what they do. But the what is probably quite easy for you to answer. I used to answer that question in one of two ways, dependent upon who asked it. But the slightly light-hearted version of my answer to that question was, I help get people into debt. And I was a mortgage advisor working in finance. And that was how I used to view it. Although it was said in a jokey way, I didn't believe I was helping people with financial advice. I believe I was helping people in a very broken system, which is the banking system, and I was getting them into debt for the next 35 years of their life. That's pretty much how I viewed it. But the next question I want to ask you is the why do you do what you do? And that's a little bit more difficult to answer. I didn't know the why back then because it's what I've always done, because I can earn decent money doing this. They were pretty lame excuses as to why, but it's because I didn't really have a good enough answer to the why. Whereas now, when people ask me what I do, I say I help people realise their potential. And the why is because I get a buzz out of helping people. And like really helping people. Not helping people get into debt. Really, really helping people with the direction of their life, overcoming either very small problems or even big life redesign projects. So one of the first things you need to do is question the why. Why are you doing it? Why do you do what you do? If you struggle to answer that question, it's probably a good indication that you're stuck or you're doing it for the wrong reasons, like I was. And this leads me on really to the reason why you don't know what it is that you want. It's because you've been following a narrative of your life for so long that you've never really explored other areas of interest. What you do has become your identity. It's your narrative, and you haven't taken the time to get past that and start experimenting. You've probably been prioritising what other people want, either what they want for you or what they want for themselves, and you've kind of copied them. I used to have some really good friends that worked in the financial services industry, and I guess looked up to them in a way. I thought, oh, they've got it all figured out, they're doing really well at this, they were born to do this. And I kind of used to fit myself into that shape, if you like, to kind of go along with it by copying what others were doing that were living a life that I thought I wanted. Because I'd been following the narrative. Since I left school, I'd worked in finance. I'd followed the narrative for so long and not taken the time to explore any other options. And if that's you, now is the time to start thinking about breaking that cycle. Start experimenting. And that leads me on to the next step, which is gaining self-knowledge through experimenting. You won't find your purpose by sitting around waiting for it to drop in your lap and not changing anything. You need to experiment. Experiment in areas that don't involve influence from others. Look at what interests you. What areas do you have skills in? What do you value? And when you look at values, I believe that you can break down values into categories. It's to what you value doing. Is it, and it's going to be a giving, some sort of giving. Is it giving to others and helping others? Is it helping children specifically, or animals specifically, or the environment specifically? What category do your values fall under? Can you combine that with any skills that you have? And can you combine it with something that you enjoy? Because when you're experimenting, you want to take out the influence of others and go within. Look at what you are good at, what you value, and what you enjoy doing. And you need all three of those boxes to be ticked. Every time you do something new, just ask yourself, why am I doing this? And the answer to that question will reveal what truly matters to you. But don't be afraid to experiment. Start a new hobby, or take an online course in a subject that you find interesting. Learning is a great tool for experimenting because there's so much knowledge out there. There's paid for courses, free courses, YouTube. There's so much information out there that you can almost turn yourself into a sponge and start soaking up all sorts of information to really kind of experiment with what it is that you're interested in. That's where I think you should start. And it's important to remember that your purpose isn't necessarily something you find, it's something that you create. And you create it through taking action and gaining experience, gaining knowledge. People who are truly happy in their lives generally have 3 areas of purpose. And I would say that whatever they're doing, it likely involves constant learning and evolving in the subject. It will also involve a degree of creativity. Whatever it is they are doing, it will spark something creative in them. And also it will involve giving or helping others. And it might be other people, children, animals, the environment, whatever it is, it will have some element of giving and helping. So use that when you're experimenting as well. Have a look at what it is. Does it involve constant learning and evolving? Is it keeping you engaged? Does it have a creative element? Does it spark something in you that requires design and creativity? And are you giving in some way? Are you helping to benefit somebody or something else? And don't be afraid to fail. I recently was listening to a TED talk on a similar subject to this, and the chap who was giving the talk, I can't remember his name now, but he said, if you're not willing to be a fool, then you can't be a master. And I love that quote because it's so true. If something's worth doing, it's probably not going to be easy. You're going to need to work at it and master it and learn it. You're not going to just be a master at it overnight, but you cannot be afraid to be a fool or even fail, because the journey to finding your purpose in life is not a straight line. It's going to have loads of corners for course correction. You might start on this path and then see that actually that's the direction you want to go in. So we take a corner and then maybe we take a corner back again. It's kind of one long journey full of corners, lots of course corrections and lots of trial and error. If you don't know what you want out of life, experimenting is key, but you're not going to get it right first time. You need to build on the experience of the experiment and think, okay, well, that I enjoyed, that I not so much, or maybe you lose interest in it after a few weeks or months, and then you know that that's not for you, and that's okay. This is about trial and error. So this moves me on to the next point, which is stop waiting for the perfect idea to land in your lap. Most people stay stuck because they're waiting for the perfect opportunity to come along. That's what I was doing for ages, waiting for the perfect opportunity, but it had to be the right thing to take me away from this career that I was in at the time, because I couldn't risk perhaps getting into something that I didn't enjoy. You know, what if I went from the frying pan into the fire? that's a catch-22, because the perfect idea will not just fall into your lap. And let me explain to you why. When you start experimenting, the first ideas that you come up with, oh, I want to try this. Oh, this is a subject I want to learn about. I'm going to take a course on this. Whatever it is that you first go into, it probably won't be the direction that you ultimately end up going in. But that's okay, because it will get you moving in the right direction. And if you don't move, if you stay where you are and wait for the perfect idea to fall in your lap, it's a really flawed plan, because without that movement and without gaining the experience of experimenting and seeing what you do and don't like, you're not going to recognise that perfect idea from your position where you are today. And I can relate to this, because a year, 2 years ago, if somebody had said to me, you'll be doing YouTube and looking at writing a book, I'd have been like, really? I've never written anything in my life. YouTube scares the hell out of me. It still does, to be fair. But I wouldn't have ever imagined that that's what I wanted to do. And it wasn't until I started experimenting, started like learning, doing courses, watching videos of subjects that interested me, that a path seemed to unfold. And none of that would have happened if I'd have stayed and waited for the perfect opportunity. And this is where you need to shift your perspective to your future self. And let me explain what I mean. Where you are at the moment in your current life, you have a set perspective of the world, how you see the world now. Moving forward with these ideas, experimenting to see what it is that you actually enjoy doing and learning, and trial and error, this journey with lots of corners to course correct. What that does is it moves you along, and it shifts the energy within you, if that's how you want to look at it. But whichever way you look at it, it shifts your perspective. You start to widen your perspective of the world, and you can see things differently. You think about things differently, all through experience of experimenting. Your future self has a wider perspective that you don't have at the moment. So if this perfect idea comes in without widening your perspective, you're probably going to miss it completely. And wouldn't that be such a shame? I mean, what do you want? What do you want? Do you see, how would you feel if you stayed on your current path for the next 10 years? How would you feel? Is that an option for you? Or are you watching this video because you're ready to make some change, make a change in a different direction? But God knows where. And that's the beauty of it. You don't be afraid to get lost on this journey, because you can course correct. Getting lost is part of the fun, to start experimenting with what you do and don't like. And you know, you're probably going to start projects and come away from them, as I said, and that's absolutely fine. Within that project, you might meet somebody that has another opportunity or another idea, or there might be an aspect of that project that you think, oh, that's quite fun, but it's actually more relevant on something else than this project, so I'm going to change it and go this direction. Get creative. This is a design project. You're designing, and when designers design something, they very rarely just draw it, done, that's designed. They sort of add bits in, work on it, take bits out, and that's what you need to do. So if you're feeling lost right now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just reframe that. Take on board everything that I've said in this video and reframe that to turn being lost into a good thing, because it effectively means that your life is now a blank canvas potentially, and you're going to be painting on this canvas, or designing, using that design analogy. You're designing what you want your life to look like now on this complete blank canvas. So don't be afraid of being lost. Reframe it that you've got opportunity now. Most people want a straight and clear, direct path to their dream life, but very few people actually have that. How many people do you know that when they were a teenager, they said, this is what I want to do, and that's what they do now, and they're happy and fulfilled in that? I would probably say it's a very, very small percentage of the entire world's population that would fall into that category. Most of us don't even know what we want, let alone have a straight, clear path to getting our dream life. The majority of people that already have their dream life at some point got lost and didn't know what direction to go in, and had to build and design from trial and error. And that's the point that, if you're watching this video, that's probably the point that you're at now. And the more you act, the more you experiment, the more in alignment you become with the future version of yourself that already has it figured out. And in conclusion, I will leave you with one last thought, or one last suggestion, should I say, rather than thought, and that is to drop any shields of fear and resistance, because they will not serve you. They will not serve your future self, and they will not serve you now, because by keeping up your shield of resistance and your shield of fear, you're going to be that person that's still on the same path doing what you're doing now in 10 years' time. Is that what you want? Because if it is, then fine, go for it, fill your boots. But I should imagine that if you're still watching this video now till the end, then that's not you. You don't want to be there. So you need to work on dropping your shields of resistance and fear. That will help you redesign your life. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up because it really helps my channel. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. And if you want to go the whole hog, leave me a comment below and let me know where you are on your journey. Are you just at the start of wanting to redesign your life, or have you already made positive steps with your experimenting process? Wherever you're at on your journey, leave me a comment below and let me know. And I'll see you all in the next video.